Machinery of Oppression was actually a pretty well received update by the Helldivers community. The Bastion, the Cyborgs, with a small exception of the Vox engine, and the invasion of Cyberstan were all loved by the Helldiver Corps. Likewise, a lot of players love the biome introduced in the update, the Megafactories, me being one of them. However, as you can guess by the thumbnail, to me it's not perfect, unlike the Hive world. Why do I think this? Well, that's what I'll explain in this video, while also explaining why I like the biome. If I could put into words the main reason why I love this biome, it's the fact that it feels so dirty and gritty. The environment inside the Megafactory is covered in dirt, rusty metal, acid wastes and lava. The air is polluted with smoke from all the factories, and all of the anti-air guns filling the sky with lasers makes you pretty much unable to see the sky. And that's just from a visual perspective. From a gameplay perspective, you are being tossed around by gunships and rocket devs while being unable to call eagles due to all the anti-air guns. This makes the Megafactories difficult, cinematic and immersive, the three main highlights of this game. This isn't the only things that the Megafactories have going for them though. The walls that surround the Megafactory and both immersion and a new gameplay element. They add immersion because you feel trapped. You constantly feel like you're being pushed or sometimes launched towards the wall, where you feel like you can't run anymore and you are being overrun. From a gameplay perspective, you need to break into the Megafactory, and since the walls are indestructible, you need to find a way inside the Megafactory. Whether that's a broken gate dug into the ground, a broken part of the wall, or just a massive door. Same thing if you need to get out of the Megafactory to extract, since extraction points can't spawn in Megafactories. It adds a little extra to your mission, to make it feel a lot more immersive. Another gameplay reason are the two Megafactory sub-objectives: erase terrorist memorials and erase strategic infrastructure. They add a lot of role-playing to the game, since it makes sense that Super Earth would commit that war crime, and also it's funny that they call the basic statues and buildings terrorist memorials and strategic infrastructure. As objectives themselves, they're pretty basic, but they're still fun, and I really like that they encourage you to destroy the environment, since I think that seeing Megafactories explode when hit with orbitals, ultimatums and dropships is really cool. The final thing that I like about them is that they're a region, like cities, so they can be added to any planet, making them both more accessible and making them more unique since they blend with the original biome. So now that I talked about why I love Megafactories, I'd like to talk about what I think could be improved about them. My first and biggest complaint is that they haven't been playable for most of the time they've been in the game. There are Megafactories on 3 planets, not including Cyberstan: Marfark, Charbal 7 and Chopesa 4. Marfark only had a Megafactory for 4 days before it was liberated about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Chopesa 4 got its Megafactory during March and was liberated in a week and has since had its Megafactory become unavailable, and Charbal 7, although having its Megafactory available now, was in a similar boat to Chopesa 4 before that. So not only have the planets with Megafactories been unavailable for a long time, the worst part is that legitimately half the automaton front has a valid reason for having a Megafactory. Aurora Bay, Jet Brigade factories, Merja 4, 7.0 resistance and is right next to Cyberstan. Mintoria, Ultra Mafic Mine, giving materials and has had the cyborgs on it for a while twice. Mesa, Communications Array, Klasa, Data Center, X45 had materials and important detail about the ASS. Yes, I know some of these are liberated, but they were under automaton control for months. So overall, I think it's very stupid for only 3 planets to have Megafactories, when I have an argument for so many other planets to have them. Now on to gameplay stuff. I think that what needs to be improved are the available missions and sub-objectives on the factories. Do you remember the lava planets that had like 5 new mission types? Well, most of these would fit pretty well into the Megafactories. Hell, the refineries are in the Megafactories. So I really don't think it would be that difficult to add these objectives to Megafactories. We can leave out rapid acquisition from the Megafactories though, no problem with that. More missions that would fit really well with Megafactories are commando missions. While not my usual cup of tea, commando missions would fit perfectly into factories because in both circumstances you're already behind enemy lines, so combining them makes sense and would pose a really interesting challenge since there are enemies everywhere in the Megafactories. The last mission idea I'd like to present is an original mission. Do you remember Repel Invasion Fleet? The Illuminate mission where you have to stop 50 Illuminate ships from landing in a city? Well, that mission first appeared on Super Earth, and the general theme and tone of the battle for Cyberstan was the battle for Super Earth, but we are the Illuminate, we are the offenders. This is shown many times through the Attention Helldivers trailer, the limited reinforcements for the guys of the offensive, and the fact that we've had to fight through a complex of cities and megafactories and the lack of non-airable fighting. So wouldn't a mission where you have to land pelicans fit perfectly with this theme? Hear me out, at the start of the mission you have to destroy a certain amount of AA guns. I'm thinking 2 per difficulty level, so 8 at diff 4 and 20 at diff 10. And once you do that, some extraction beacons land, about 1 per difficulty. These extraction beacons work similarly to normal ones, only they take 1 minute to land, and once they land they deploy SIF soldiers, let's say 10 SIF. You need to activate all of them and help the pelicans land with the SIF. And after that you can leave the mission with a regular extraction that falls down by itself like the ones in the Repair Invasion Field mission. Doesn't that sound like peak? It would be difficult, fun and fit with the theme of Opposite Day Super Earth. I think it'd be perfect. The only reason I think they wouldn't do that, other than they didn't think of this, is that they're going to do it for the Illuminate homeworld, which fair enough, it'd work great there too. So that's enough about the main objectives. Let's talk about the sub-objectives now, specifically one, Factory Strider Convoys. They're one of the best side objectives in the game. It's intimidating when you first encounter it, and a very fun experience trying to take it down every time. And I think they'd fit perfectly into Megafactories. Having them go from part of the factory to another, going through the wall and completely destroying everything in its path would be fun. Especially if there's cyborgs on it, since then it'll become a Vox engine convoy, and that in the Megafactory sounds amazing and very difficult. Fun fact, I think they might be testing them. In a recent game I played, I actually found a Factory Strider convoy. It was very clearly broken, as you can see, as it just kinda stayed in the middle, not doing anything, except attacking. However, it does prove my point that this would be very cool to experience in the game and have it actually work. The final thing I'd like to talk about has less to do with the Megafactory and more to do with the enemies on it. Similar to the Hive worlds, I think Megafactories should be hard-coded to have cyborgs on them. I mean, they literally produce cyborgs, where else would they be? However, this also kinda has to do with the cyborgs. The cyborgs have 3 enemies, 2 are basically a variant of each other, so it's basically 2.5. I understand that most of the cyborgs from the first game are essentially automatons in the second game, however 2 aren't in the game, the dogs and the siege mech. Now the siege mech, I'll explain how it could fit in the game, but it would literally squash all of the buildings in the factory, so I understand why they weren't in the game. However, why not the dogs? Hell, the dogs leaked when the cyborgs got leaked. They didn't have any models, but they were mentioned in the files, so why weren't they added? There is literally no reason. Now for the siege mech, as I said, it can't go in the Megafactories. I get that. However, the Megafactories don't cover the entire map. They leave a decent bit out. So just put the siege mech there. Not at the start obviously, but like after the main objective is completed, put it outside the Megafactories as an obstacle that players will have to push through to extract. Make it more killable than the Hive Lords since they can't leave you alone, and I think it would be pretty good. I know game development isn't push create big enemy button and bam, but overall I think that they played it a bit safe with the Machinery of Oppression update. And yeah, I'll talk about it more in depth in a future video, but I would have preferred them to release the update in April or May and add all the stuff I mentioned than how they released it in February. To not end it on a sour note, I like to say that they could add none of these things, and I'd be perfectly okay, because Megafactories still kick ass the way they are. They are some of the most chaotic, cinematic, and difficult and dirty gameplay this game has ever had, and I love them just the way they are. I'd still like them to be on more planets though. That's something that I really find unreasonable, that in 6 months only 3 planets have Megafactories while the void has spread to a gazillion fucking planets in less time. So that's it for this video. For the next one I'll try to cover the new Illuminate update. That'll come out next week. That might be a little difficult since, as you can see, I will be going on vacation next week. So if I don't have that video ready, I try to cover something else Helldivers related. I don't know what yet, but I'll see what I can do. And now that the video is over, I'd just like to say drink water, eat an apple, talk to your family and subscribe, so I can see you in the next one.